Imagine for a moment that the noise of the world, the constant hum of social media, the pressure of comparison, the endless expectations of others were to suddenly vanish. What would you see? What would you hear? What would you feel? In the silence, the only voice that remains is your own. And in that stillness, the truth becomes clear. The most important person you must focus on is yourself. You are the architect of your life, the captain of your ship, and the only one who truly holds the power to steer your destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at a crossroads. We are bombarded daily by the demands and expectations of others, our peers, our families, society at large. And we have been taught to measure our success and our worth based on their judgments. In a world obsessed with external validation and comparison, we have lost touch with the most powerful tool at our disposal, ourselves. The truth is, to find meaning, fulfillment, and true success, we must shift our focus inward, not outward. The greatest source of power lies within us, and only when we take responsibility for our lives, when we stop waiting for others to dictate our worth, can we truly unlock our potential. Today, I want to challenge you to break free from the chains of comparison, to stop seeking approval from the world, and to start focusing on the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. The path to personal growth, happiness, and true success begins when we stop looking for answers in the world around us and start looking within. Focus on yourself, not to the exclusion of others, but as a way to empower and enrich every other relationship and endeavor you engage in. Only by mastering ourselves can we truly master our lives. So let us begin. Self-responsibility. The modern world often encourages a mindset of blame and deflection. It's all too easy to point to external circumstances, others, or society itself as the reasons for our discontent, failure, or unhappiness. However, if we are to lead meaningful lives, it is essential to break free from this pattern and adopt a mentality of self-responsibility. The moment you stop blaming the world around you for your struggles is the moment you begin to take control over your own fate. The truth is, no matter how much you try to control your environment, there are always elements beyond your grasp. The weather, other people's actions, societal trends, and global events. All of these are outside your control. But what you can control is how you respond to them. You have the ability to choose your mindset, your attitude, and your actions. This is true freedom. The power to decide your own course in life, irrespective of external influences. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean ignoring the world around you. It means accepting the fact that your life and your happiness depend largely on how you engage with the world. If you take responsibility for your own actions, you acknowledge that you have the agency to alter your circumstances. Responsibility leads to empowerment. When you take ownership of your own life, you gain the ability to make meaningful changes. This is not an invitation to perfection. It's a call to embrace the idea that your life is yours to shape. By focusing inward, you unlock the ability to build resilience in the face of adversity, to grow from mistakes, and to continually evolve as a person. The first step toward a fulfilled existence is to stop waiting for things outside of your control to change. Instead, recognize that your most powerful tool is the ability to change yourself. The perils of comparison. We live in a society that is obsessed with comparison. Social media has created an environment where it's easy to feel like you are constantly being measured against others. Whether it's career accomplishments, physical appearance, relationships, or lifestyle choices, it's easy to feel inadequate when you look at someone else's life through the lens of their success. But comparison, at its core, is a trap. It's a game you will never win, because there will always be someone with more, someone who appears more successful or more capable. The irony is that comparison doesn't give us clarity, it clouds our vision. Instead of focusing on our own unique journey, we get distracted by someone else's. The danger of this constant comparison is that it erodes our self-worth. We begin to internalize the belief that we are not good enough, that we are somehow inferior because we are not measuring up to an arbitrary standard set by others. This creates a toxic loop of self-doubt and dissatisfaction. The problem with comparison is not just about feeling inferior. It's about neglecting the importance of your own individuality. Each person's life journey is different. The circumstances that shaped them, the challenges they've faced, and the opportunities they've been given are unique to them. When you compare yourself to someone else, you fail to appreciate the singular path that is yours alone. Furthermore, comparison leads to envy, a destructive emotion that poisons the soul. Envy makes you bitter instead of better. It distracts you from your own strengths and keeps you fixated on what others have. It keeps you from embracing your own potential. Rather than looking outward, look inward. Focus on your own progress, not on where someone else is in their journey. Set your own standards based on your values and aspirations, not based on someone else's achievements. Personal growth comes from cultivating a sense of inner peace and understanding that your value is not determined by the comparison to others. When you remove the need for external validation and measure your worth by your own yardstick, you free yourself from the destructive cycle of comparison. Life is not a competition. It is an individual journey that requires self-awareness, patience, and compassion. Constructing a strong foundation before you can positively influence the world or others, you must first focus on building a strong foundation within yourself. It is impossible to pour from an empty cup. If you are not grounded in your own life, if your own foundation is weak, then everything you attempt to do in the world will be fragile and short-lived. Personal growth begins with self-stabilization. This involves developing a sense of purpose, building emotional resilience, cultivating discipline, and aligning your actions with your values. These are the pillars upon which a strong and meaningful life is built. Without them, you are more susceptible to external pressures and distractions. Building this foundation requires deep introspection. It demands that you ask yourself hard questions. What do I stand for? What is truly important to me? What is my purpose? Only when you answer these questions honestly and take responsibility for your own answers can you begin the process of constructing a life that is solid and unwavering. Developing emotional resilience is also a key part of this foundation. Life is full of challenges and setbacks. If your emotional structure is fragile, even the smallest inconvenience will feel like an insurmountable obstacle. But when you build emotional strength through self-awareness, reflection, and discipline, you can handle adversity with grace and poise. Discipline, too, plays an integral role in the foundation-building process. Without discipline, even the most well-intentioned efforts will fall short. Discipline is the ability to stay committed to your values and your goals, even when it is difficult. It is the ability to show up for yourself every day, even when you don't feel like it. Without this level of commitment, your foundation will crumble. Once you have solidified this internal foundation, only then can you begin to build outward. Only then will you be in a position to meaningfully contribute to the world around you. When you focus on constructing a strong foundation within yourself, you no longer depend on external circumstances or others' approval to define your sense of worth. You will be capable of weathering any storm and standing firm in your own truth. Meaning and purpose. Meaning and purpose are not something that are given to us by the world around us. They are something that we must discover and cultivate within ourselves. The pursuit of meaning is not a superficial chase for success, wealth, or fame. It is a deep, existential quest to understand who we are, why we are here, and what we are meant to contribute to the world. This quest requires introspection, courage, and resilience. You cannot simply expect the world to hand you a sense of purpose. It is something you must earn through dedication, self-examination, and effort. Focusing on yourself means seeking meaning on your own terms. It involves examining your own values, passions, and talents, and aligning your actions with them. Meaningful work and purpose come from identifying what resonates most deeply within you and using your unique gifts to contribute to the world. It is easy to fall into the trap of pursuing goals that are externally defined, goals that others tell you should matter. But true fulfillment comes only when your pursuits align with your own deepest desires and values. Meaning and purpose are also born from the way you handle adversity. Life is not without challenges, and it is how you respond to these challenges that shapes the meaning of your journey. When you face hardship and continue to pursue your purpose despite it, you affirm the strength and depth of your mission. Meaning doesn't come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from overcoming it, from facing it head on and refusing to be defeated by it. Furthermore, purpose gives you a reason to keep going, even when the world around you feels uncertain or chaotic. When you have a clear sense of purpose, you find clarity in the midst of confusion. You make decisions that are consistent with your long-term vision, not with fleeting desires. And when you align yourself with your purpose, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of light, showing others that it is possible to live a life of meaning, regardless of external circumstances. When your focus is internal, when you define your own meaning and purpose, your life becomes a powerful force for good in the world. You become grounded in something larger than yourself, something that sustains you through both the highs and lows of life. The ego trap. The ego is a tricky thing. It can be a powerful tool for self-confidence, self-assertion, and success, but it can also lead us astray when it is allowed to run unchecked. Focusing too much on others can inflate the ego, making it more concerned with how it is perceived than with who it truly is. This is the ego trap, the belief that your worth is determined by how others see you. When you live for the approval of others, your actions become less authentic. You start making decisions based on what will earn you admiration or validation, rather than what is right for you. This shift in focus diminishes your authenticity, leaving you disconnected from your true self. The ego thrives on comparison, competition, and external validation. When you constantly measure yourself against others, your ego is always in a state of flux. It is either inflating when you feel superior or deflating when you feel inferior. This creates an unstable sense of self. True strength, however, lies in being anchored in your own identity rather than in the fleeting opinions of others. When you detach from the ego's demands, you can approach life with a sense of humility and clarity. You understand that your worth is not determined by external factors, but by the integrity with which you live your life. The ego trap also distorts relationships. It turns them into competitions for dominance or approval, rather than opportunities for collaboration and mutual growth. The ego turns relationships into transactional exchanges rather than meaningful connections. When you focus on yourself, however, you stop viewing others through the lens of competition. Instead, you see them as fellow travelers on the same journey. You can engage with others without the need for validation, and your relationships become more genuine and fulfilling. By taming the ego, you liberate yourself from the need for constant external validation, and you free yourself to live authentically. Self-reflection and growth, personal growth, begins with self-awareness. Without a clear understanding of who you are, what motivates you, and what your strengths and weaknesses are, it is impossible to make meaningful progress. This requires a deep level of introspection, an honest and sometimes uncomfortable examination of your thoughts, behaviors, and patterns. Self-reflection is the mirror through which you can see your true self. It allows you to confront the aspects of your character that need improvement, and to celebrate the parts that are already aligned with your values. Self-reflection requires discipline. It's easy to avoid looking inward because it can be painful to face your flaws and shortcomings. But it is only through confronting these challenges head on that you can grow. Personal growth does not happen by accident. It requires a commitment to ongoing self-reflection and improvement. It's about recognizing that you are a work in progress, constantly evolving. Through self-reflection, you can identify the habits and beliefs that are holding you back and replace them with those that will propel you forward. Growth is not about perfection, it is about progress. Furthermore, self-reflection allows you to make better decisions. When you understand your own motives and emotions, you can make choices that are more aligned with your long-term goals. It helps you avoid making impulsive decisions driven by fear or insecurity. When you reflect on past experiences, you gain the wisdom needed to handle future challenges with greater clarity and confidence. Self-reflection also enables you to cultivate gratitude and humility. By recognizing your own flaws and limitations, you develop a greater appreciation for the complexities of the human experience. You come to understand that everyone is on their own journey, and you approach others with greater empathy and compassion. The process of self-reflection is ongoing. It is not something that can be completed in a single moment. It is a lifelong practice, but it is through this continuous process of self-examination that we unlock our true potential and begin to lead lives of greater meaning and fulfillment. Personal accountability vs. blaming others. One of the most debilitating habits that many people fall into is blaming others for their misfortune. When things go wrong, it's easy to point the finger at someone else, at circumstances, or at society. But this mindset is not only disempowering, it also prevents you from growing. Personal accountability is the key to unlocking your potential. When you take responsibility for your actions and decisions, you claim your power. You realize that you are the one who determines your future, not the people or circumstances around you. This doesn't mean you should accept blame for everything in your life. It means recognizing that while external factors certainly play a role in shaping our experiences, our response to them is always within our control. Blaming others for your problems creates a sense of helplessness. It keeps you stuck in victimhood rather than empowering you to take action. Accountability means recognizing that no matter the circumstances, you are the one who ultimately shapes your response. You are responsible for how you react, what you learn, and what you do next. This doesn't mean you should accept responsibility for everything that happens to you. It means that you should accept responsibility for how you choose to move forward. Personal accountability requires honesty. It means confronting your mistakes and learning from them, rather than justifying your failures by pointing to others. When you own your mistakes, you can grow from them. You can change your behavior, adjust your mindset, and move closer to your goals. The practice of personal accountability also cultivates resilience. When you know that you are in charge of your destiny, you stop waiting for external circumstances to change. You take proactive steps to improve your situation, to learn, and to adapt. Blaming others, on the other hand, creates division. It fosters anger, resentment, and a lack of control. When you focus on others' mistakes, you neglect your own ability to learn and grow. Taking accountability for your actions is a liberating experience. It allows you to break free from the chains of victimhood and step into a position of power where you can shape your own future. The power of discipline. Discipline is the cornerstone of personal success. It is the ability to commit to something, even when it is difficult, uncomfortable, or inconvenient. In a world filled with distractions, instant gratification, and external pressures, discipline is the force that allows you to stay focused on your long-term goals. It is what separates those who achieve great things from those who settle for mediocrity. When you focus on yourself, discipline is what keeps you on track. It is the daily practice that aligns your actions with your values, your vision, and your purpose. Discipline is not just about rigid routines or self-control. It's about cultivating consistency in the face of temptation. It's about knowing what you want and doing what is necessary to achieve it, even when it requires sacrifice. The road to success is rarely easy or quick. It requires sustained effort over time, and it is discipline that ensures you keep going even when progress seems slow. The power of discipline lies in its ability to create habits. Habits are the building blocks of a successful life. When you cultivate disciplined habits, you automate success. You don't need to rely on motivation or willpower every single day. You simply do what needs to be done. Whether it's waking up early, exercising regularly, studying diligently, or nurturing relationships, discipline ensures that these actions become second nature. Discipline also fosters self-respect. When you commit to something and follow through, you build confidence in yourself and your abilities. It shows you that you can trust yourself to do the right thing, even when it's difficult. This inner trust is a powerful force. It reinforces your sense of self-worth and propels you forward in your journey. Ultimately, discipline is what turns your aspirations into reality. It is the bridge between dreams and accomplishments. Without discipline, even the most well-meaning intentions will remain unfulfilled. but with it, you can achieve anything. The toxicity of external validation, seeking validation from others, is a deeply ingrained habit in modern society. From social media likes to accolades at work, we are conditioned to seek external approval. But this reliance on others' opinions for our self-worth is toxic. When we place our value in the hands of others, we make ourselves vulnerable. External validation is fleeting. It depends on factors that are beyond our control. A compliment, a promotion, or a successful post might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't last. Building self-worth based on external factors is a recipe for anxiety. When your self-esteem is dependent on how others perceive you, you are at the mercy of their whims, their preferences, and their judgments. One day, you might be praised, the next you could be ignored or criticized. This inconsistency keeps you in a state of emotional instability. You become constantly anxious, waiting for others to affirm your worth. This is not a healthy way to live. True self-worth is built from within. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you are capable of. It's about aligning your actions with your values and knowing that your worth is not determined by others' approval. When you learn to validate yourself, you free yourself from the need for external praise. You no longer seek approval from others because you have already affirmed your own value. This gives you a sense of security and stability that no external factor can ever provide. The key to escaping the trap of external validation is to focus on self-respect. It is about valuing yourself for who you are, not for what others think of you. When you build this internal foundation of self-worth, you begin to approach life from a position of strength. You are no longer dependent on others to tell you that you matter. You already know it. And when you operate from this place of internal validation, you become immune to the negative opinions of others. You can focus on your own growth, your own vision, and your own path without being distracted by the constant need for external affirmation. Isolation is an opportunity. In a world that constantly emphasizes connection, being alone can feel like a punishment. However, solitude is not a form of isolation. It is an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. When we are constantly surrounded by others, it is easy to lose sight of who we are and what we truly want. We become distracted by external opinions, societal expectations, and the noise of daily life. But solitude gives us the space to reconnect with ourselves, to reflect, and to understand our deepest desires. Spending time alone allows us to cultivate our inner world. In moments of silence, we confront our fears, our ambitions, and our emotional states. We can ask ourselves important questions about our life's direction and purpose. It is during these times of isolation that we can find clarity, refine our goals, and focus our energy on what truly matters. Solitude also fosters creativity. Without the distractions of others, we are free to explore new ideas and solutions. When we are alone, our minds can wander and experiment in ways that they cannot when we are constantly surrounded by external influences. Furthermore, being alone teaches us self-reliance. In solitude, we learn to trust ourselves, to make decisions without external input, and to find peace in our own company. This level of self-sufficiency is vital for personal growth. It allows us to build resilience and confidence. In conclusion, isolation is not something to fear. It is an opportunity to reconnect with your truest self, to grow and to refine your purpose. By embracing solitude, you reclaim your autonomy and focus on what truly matters in your journey. As we draw this discussion to a close, I want you to reflect on something profound. The world will always be filled with distractions, expectations, and external pressures. It will always present us with 1,000 voices, 1,000 opinions, and 1,000 paths to follow. But none of them matter as much as the voice inside of you, the one that knows your deepest desires, your true values, and your most authentic self. By focusing on yourself, you are not choosing isolation or selfishness. Rather, you are choosing empowerment. You are choosing responsibility. The responsibility to shape your life, to align your actions with your beliefs, and to cultivate a future that is not dictated by the whims of others. You are choosing to stop measuring your worth against the standards of others and instead to set your own benchmarks for success. This is where true power lies. When you focus on yourself, you are embracing the idea that you have the agency to change, to grow, and to define your own path. You are accepting the challenge of confronting your flaws and imperfections, not as weaknesses, but as opportunities for growth. You are learning that resilience is built not by avoiding hardship, but by facing it head on, knowing that you have the strength within you to overcome anything life throws your way. More importantly, focusing on yourself doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. It means enriching your ability to engage with it. When you build a strong internal foundation, you not only empower yourself, but you are also better equipped to contribute to others, to build stronger relationships, and to make a more meaningful impact. The strength you cultivate in solitude becomes the force that fuels your ability to connect and lead. So, I challenge you, let go of the habit of seeking external validation. Stop comparing yourself to others, and instead, start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Commit to the lifelong journey of self-discovery, growth, and self-mastery. Take responsibility for your life, shape it intentionally, and create a future that reflects your authentic self. Because in the end, the most profound and lasting transformation comes not from changing the world around you, but from focusing on the one thing you truly have control over, yourself. The path to greatness begins from within. It's time to take that first step. Focus on yourself, and everything else will follow.